This video is sponsored by PGY Tech. So welcome back to another landscape photography adventure, and today we're chatting about something super important for anyone who loves shooting the great outdoors, and that's picking the right lens. So whether you're snapping shots of, say, a mountain range or capturing tiny details on the forest floor, the lens that you choose can really up your chances of a great shot. And I really think choosing the right lens is so important. Also, I've got a brand new camera bag that is flipping awesome. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on in the video. So yeah, loads to talk about today. So let's get into it. So we're in the heart of Pembrokeshire today in the Preseli Hills, and we're going to check out an historic site, which I'm really looking forward to. Now, the Preseli Hills is somewhere I come when, you know, the touristy areas are a little bit more busy, you know, during the summer months. So it's a great place to seek solitude. You very rarely see another person, which is absolutely amazing. We're meant to be getting a nice sunset tonight, so I'm very hopeful we'll capture an image or two later on. But yeah, I really want to talk about lenses on the way, and also this awesome new bag that I've got. Truly unbelievable. Anyway, we're heading up there, if I flip you around, to that ridge line at the top there. Then we've got about a mile to go to the right. So yeah, that doesn't look like much of a ridge line on the back of this camera, but it is quite a hill. Right, let's talk about lenses. So as we mentioned, choosing the right lens can be key, but a few things to consider when choosing a lens would be what we intend to shoot, what conditions we intend to shoot in, and what we're going to be using those images for. So let me just expand on those three things just for a second. So firstly, what do we intend to shoot will dictate the focal length that is required. So for me, I would never go into the mountains or hills like this without a telephoto lens, because that longer focal length is great for picking out distant details. On the flip side though, I tend to use a wide angle lens a lot less often when I'm in the hills. At the coast though, I use a wide angle lens quite a lot and a telephoto lens less often. So location and style of shooting can often dictate your lens choice. Secondly, what conditions we intend to shoot in. So if you never venture out when it's wet or dusty, you might not need to invest the extra money in weather sealing your lens. For me, weather sealing is super important as I shoot, you know, a lot of seascapes, and the weather here in Wales most of the time is pretty wet. So yeah, weather sealing is essential for me, but that might not be the case for you. Thirdly, what will the images be used for? So if you intend to make, say, massive prints or sell your work for commercial gain, then it's likely you will require the very best optics that are available. But if not, then I guess a question to ask yourself is, do I actually need that extra tiny little bit of lens sharpness that I might get from a very high-end lens, and is it really worth the extra investment? So as landscape photographers, we're quite lucky in lots of ways, because we tend to shoot most of our images around the sweet spot of a lens, and that's because quite often we want to get the most sharpness from front to back in our image. And to do this, we tend to shoot at apertures between f7.1 and probably about f11. And what we find is even entry-level lenses perform really well through this aperture range. It's when the aperture is either fully open or fully closed that cheap lenses tend to become very soft, especially in the corners. I think with pro lenses, you're paying for consistency through that focal and aperture range. But like I mentioned though, at the sweet spot, that difference can be very, very marginal. So we've got some blue sky coming. Yes. Hopefully it's going to warm up a bit. So before we get on to the new bag, I just want to talk about primes versus zooms, because I think that's really important. And it's a massive debate, and everyone will have slightly different opinions on this. But if I was just shooting daytime landscapes, I would have 3 zoom lenses: a wide angle, a standard zoom, and a telephoto zoom, because this offers the most amount of flexibility. However, I like to dabble in astrophotography from time to time, so I actually swapped out my wide-angle zoom lens for a prime lens. And this is the lens that I went for. It's the Viltrox 13mm f1.4. So this lens is wide enough for most of my daytime wide-angle photography, and is super sharp down to about f1.8, which is great for shooting the Milky Way because it lets in a lot of light, and it's a really versatile lens in that regard. So with prime lenses, they're just one focal length, aren't they? But they tend to get, I guess, better image quality than you can expect from a zoom lens. And I think aside from their larger aperture, this is one of their biggest plus points. The downside, of course, is that if you've got a bag full of primes, then it's going to leave some big gaps in your focal range. And you know, if you had zooms, basically all of those bases are covered. I think these gaps are probably more noticeable as well when we get to the wider end of the focal range, so maybe that is something to bear in mind as well. Now, prime lenses can be great from a creative point of view, as working within the constraints of a single focal length means we'll need to zoom with our feet, if you like. But I think the only problem for this for landscape photography though is quite often we're kind of confined to a very tight space. You know, we can't actually move sometimes. You know, say for example you're on a mountain path, we might not be able to move forwards or backwards. We might be just stuck where we are. So for me, this is why I would always recommend zooms over prime lenses, especially if you're just starting out with landscape photography. So we've reached an important part of our journey. We've reached an intersection, or a crossroads, if you will. Now this road that runs from the hilltops at the back there to the hilltops in front of us is called the Golden Road. And it's an old ancient trade route. And it was part of the trade route between Wales and Ireland. So yeah, lots of history here. I can imagine what it would have been like all those years ago. But now it's just a little track, a little sort of worn grass path, if you will. But anyway, just over this peak in front of us, another half a mile or so, and we'll be at our historic burial grounds, which I am really looking forward to. So I've got a tool that will help you to determine your favourite lens for landscape photography. But first, I just want to talk about my new camera bag because I am super excited about it. It really is a bit of a game changer. So let's get into it. So this is the PGY Tech Focus Backpack, which is a dedicated camera backpack designed for landscape and outdoor photographers. And it comes in both 25 and 35 litre sizes. I've got the 35 litre one here, which is really roomy and is packed full of awesome features. Now they come in space black and fern green. Obviously this is the black version, which I think looks really cool. The outer material is also made from cross-woven rip-resistant Cordura fabric that's durable as well as being splash resistant. Now the pack is built around a very unique Summit Ready harness, which has a 3D frame built from 7000 series aerospace aluminium. This allows the pack to be kept away from the body, allowing the air to circulate freely and reduces sweating. And I can tell you from my hike up here, this works incredibly well. Usually at this point of a hike, my back would be soaking wet, especially during the summer months. But yeah, I feel nice and dry, which is super awesome. So yeah, I definitely think it's working well for me. There's additional features on the outside of the pack as well, such as this waistband and shoulder strap pocket. There's safety features such as these quick release clips that help strengthen and secure the pack. And I really like the amount of attachment loops that allow you to strap additional items onto the bag if required. Stuffed in here, there's a rain cover, which will definitely come in handy for me living in Wales, and there's tons of room in this rear pouch as well. If we unclip this side strap, we get access to this huge back pocket where you could store larger items. You could even fit something like a gimbal in here, for example. Above that, there's a removable pouch that has its own strap. So if you want to leave most of your gear in the car, for example, you could just say put your camera and one lens in this small pouch, attach the shoulder strap, and just do a quick sort of photo trip somewhere just with a minimal setup. This makes this system even more flexible. On the sides of the pack, we've got these large pockets which can store a tripod or a water bottle. This pocket gives you access to the main bag, so you can get your camera out quickly without taking the bag off. And it also houses a very clever battery storage pocket with indicators as well, which show the state of your batteries. And I think it's little touches like this that really do make this bag stand out from the crowd. Now the pocket on the other side has some really nice storage pouches as well. So another way you can access the camera or a camera is via the top zip of the pack. So you can configure this setup however works best for you. Now folding the pack open is really smooth as well. It opens 180 degrees, so it's not flipping closed on you all of the time. And as you can see, we've got a big selection of dividers that suit a lot of different configurations. There's also additional pockets for storing a small laptop, as well as another pocket at the top. All in all, this has to be one of the most well thought out camera bags I've ever used. It's spacious, well built, and it's packed full of versatile features. Now, if you're interested in taking a closer look at the One Pro Focus Backpack by PGY Tech, then be sure to follow the link in the video description to learn more. Going back to lenses, if you already own a few lenses, a great way to find your most used focal length is by using this super powerful hidden tool that's in Lightroom's library module. Let me quickly explain how this works. To use it, come up to the library module, then go to View at the top and check Show Filter Bar. Make sure you've selected your primary folder on the left so your entire photo collection is included. Next, ensure all dates, cameras and focal lengths are selected from the top drop-down menus. Now you can scroll through the different focal lengths to see which ones you use the most. For example, I found that I have about 1500 shots at the 13mm and just over 1600 shots at the 16mm range. And this shows that I frequently use very wide end of my standard zoom and obviously my 13mm prime lens. But here's where it gets interesting. By looking through the entire zoom range, you can see the focal lengths that you naturally favour. You will likely notice spikes in certain areas like I did with 28mm. And this is such a powerful tool and can really help you decide where to invest your money, especially if you're looking to upgrade perhaps one of your cheaper lenses. So the sun is coming out to the west and I think I might have found quite a decent area to shoot for sunset. This is called Cairn Bicker, I believe it's called. And our burial grounds are just down there. I can just see them just down there. So let's make our way down and take a look. So here we are at the Bed Arthur burial ground, or Arthur's grave as it's also known. It's an elliptical shape of stones. They all kind of lean in as well, which I believe suggests that it perhaps was some kind of burial mound at one point, possibly eroded away or maybe even robbed by grave robbers, who knows. But yeah, it's a lot of history here, and it's one of those areas where potentially King Arthur, the myth, the legend, was perhaps buried, but there are numerous sites that all linked to King Arthur himself. But anyway, yeah, quite an interesting site. I would like to take a shot of it, but the light is very flat here, so I don't think I'm going to on this occasion. But it might be a location I revisit. Very, very interesting though, just in the middle of nowhere. And when you're up here, you really do feel like you're in the middle of nowhere because you just don't see another person. So if I had to pick one lens for landscape photography, it would have to be my most used lens, which is this, the standard zoom lens. In full frame terms, that's 24-70. For me, on APS-C, that's 16-55, which is actually 24-82. But I've actually got a couple of standard zoom lenses. Now, this one is a kit lens with a variable aperture between f2.8 and f4, and this one is a pro constant f2.8 lens. And as you can see, the difference in size and weight is quite a lot. In terms of image quality though, at the sweet spot of these lenses between f7.1 and f11, the image quality is very, very similar, to be honest. The only difference in these two lenses really, for me, for landscape photography, is the fact that the Pro version is weather sealed and this kit version is not, which means, yeah, I tend to favour the weather sealed lens. Now actually there's a new version of this kit lens coming out very soon, or I think it's actually out now, which is in fact weather sealed, so I'm going to be taking a look at that, which I think might help reduce some of the weight in my pack. So I would actually advise looking at f4 lenses over f2.8s, as usually the image quality is going to be similar at those mid apertures, but the size, the weight and the cost is likely to be a lot less, which is going to be a massive bonus. So I think the 24-70 zoom range offers so much flexibility for landscapes, and it's definitely a lens I just couldn't be without. Right, let's find a composition for sunset. And I think I need to put the jacket on now because it's getting rather chilly. So when I mentioned that I didn't think there was going to be any light down here on the landscape where the burial grounds were, well, I was completely wrong. Bizarrely, the light is skimming across the landscape and just lighting the very tops of the stones up. So I'm using that as my foreground interest, and the light sort of scatters around the landscape with some dark patches as well, and the light's just catching the hills on the other side. So I actually think this is quite a nice shot that I wasn't expecting to get. Maybe not a great landscape photography shot, but I really think it, like, you know, it shows so much of the history of the area, and it's very, very subtle as well. But just like how the light is just catching the tops of those stones, it's yeah, it really is quite magical. So yeah, quite a nice little shot. I framed it up 16:9, f10 to get everything sharp from front to back, 40th per second, and I really like the colours in the sky as well. Very moody dark blues, which is super awesome. So yeah, quite a surprise to get this. I wasn't expecting that at all. And then I'm going to spin round to see if I can get a shot behind me, because you might just be able to see the light behind me is absolutely kicking off. So yeah, lots to shoot from this one vantage point. Absolutely brilliant. So the light is absolutely incredible right now, super bright, as you can probably tell by the exposure of my face. But the light is just skimming underneath the underside of this heavy bank of cloud that we've got that's situated over the top of us. And I've chosen to shoot on this rocky outcrop called Cairn Bicker, which is, yeah, looks across the west coast there. So yeah, absolutely wonderful. And I'm bracketing my shots. Currently I'm at 40th second f9. And that is for my lightest frame, and then I'm just adjusting my shutter speed as required for the other frames, just to get the full exposure, because I'm shooting straight towards the light, which is particularly challenging. So yeah, I'll just blend those images together in post-production. But I think, yeah, this could be quite a nice shot if the light plays ball. Even the clouds might even light up as well, which could be pretty interesting. So I'm going to take a shot now, and hopefully it's a keeper. Let me know what you think. Focal length is super important, and if you would like to learn more about landscape photography, I highly recommend checking out this video that is up here. And if you enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a like, because that really does help me out. And the link up here will take you to my online photography community, where you'll find my editing class and fortnightly editing sessions, and lots of other things to help you improve your photography. Anyway, until next week, take care, and I hope to see you all again very soon.